Rumpelstiltskin. There was once a miller who was very poor, but he had a beautiful daughter. Now it happened that he had occasion to speak with the king, and in order to appear a person of some consequence, he told him that he had a daughter who could spin straw into gold. "Now that is an art worth having," said the king to the miller. "If your daughter is as skillful as you say, bring her tomorrow to my palace, and I will put her to the test." When the girl was brought to him, he led her into a room which was full of straw, and giving her a spinning wheel and spindle, he said, "Now set to work, and if by tomorrow morning early you have not spun this straw into gold, you shall die." Then he locked the door himself and left her alone in the room. The poor miller's daughter sat there, and for the life of her could not think what to do. She had not the least idea how to turn straw into gold, and she became more and more unhappy, till at last she began to cry. Then all at once the door opened, and in came a tiny little man, and said to her, "Good evening, Mistress Miller. Why are you crying so bitterly?" "Alas," answered the girl, "I have to spin straw into gold, and I do not know how to do it." "What will you give me," said the little man, "if I spin it for you?" "My necklace," said the girl. The little man took the necklace, seated himself before the spinning wheel, and whir, 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 the wheel went round 3 times, and the reel was full of gold. Then he put on more straw, and whir, 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 the wheel went round 3 turns, and the reel was full a second time. And so it went on till morning, when all the straw was spun, and the reels were full of gold. At sunrise the king came to the room, and when he saw the gold, he was astonished and delighted, but his heart was only greedy for more. He had the miller's daughter taken into a still larger room full of straw, and commanded her to spin that too in one night, if she valued her life. The girl did not know what to do, and began to cry. Then the door opened as before, and the little man appeared, and said, "What will you give me if I spin the straw into gold for you?" "I will give you the ring from my finger," answered the girl. The little man took the ring, began to turn the wheel round with a whir again, and by morning had spun all the straw into glittering gold. The king was pleased beyond measure at the sight, but still he had not gold enough. He had the miller's daughter taken into a still larger room, filled with straw, and said, "You must spin this too in the course of the night, but if all this straw is spun into gold by morning, you shall be my wife." Even though she is only a miller's daughter, he thought to himself, I could not find a richer wife anywhere in the whole world. When the girl was alone, the little man came for the 3rd time, and said, "What will you give me if I spin the straw for you this once more?" "I have nothing more that I can give," answered the girl. "Then promise me when you are queen to give me your first child." "Who knows what may happen before that?" thought the miller's daughter, and besides, she knew no way to help herself out of this difficulty. So she promised the little man what he asked, and for that he soon spun the straw into gold once more. When the king came in the morning and found everything as he had wished, he took her in marriage, and the miller's beautiful daughter became a queen. A year later, she had a beautiful child, and she never gave a thought to the little man. But all of a sudden, one day, he walked into her room and said, "Now, give me what you promised." The queen was terrified and offered the little man all the treasures of the kingdom if he would only leave her her child. But the little man said, "No, something living is dearer to me than all the treasures in the world." Then the queen began to mourn and weep so bitterly that the little man was sorry for her, and said, "I will give you 3 days, and if in that time you can guess my name, you shall keep your child." Then the queen lay awake till morning, thinking over all the names she had ever heard of, and she sent a messenger over the country to inquire far and near any other names there might be. When the little man came the next day, she began with Caspar, Melchior, Balthazar, and repeated all the names she knew. But at each one the little man said, "Nope, that's not my name." The next day she sent to inquire the names of all the people in the neighborhood, and had a long list of the most uncommon and extraordinary names for the little man when he came. "Is your name Short Ribs, perhaps, or Sheepshanks, or Spindle Leg?" But he always replied, "No, that is not my name." The third day the messenger returned and reported, "I have not been able to find any more new names. But on my way home, as I came to a high mountain on the edge of the forest, I saw there a little house, and before the house a fire was burning, and round the fire a ridiculous little man was hopping and dancing on one leg and crying, 'Today I brew, tomorrow I bake, next morning I shall the queen's child take. How glad I am that no one can dream that Rumpelstiltskin is my name.'" You can imagine how delighted the queen was when she heard the name, and when the little man came in a little later and asked, "Now, Lady Queen, what is my name?" she asked first, "Is your name Conrad?" "No." "Is your name Henry?" "No." "Is your name perhaps Rumpelstiltskin?" "The fairies told you that! The fairies told you that!" screamed the little man, and in his rage he stamped his right foot so deep into the ground that his whole leg went in. Then in a passion he seized his left foot with both hands and tore himself in two. The end.